Have you ever tried to bring up something in a relationship that is bothering you and then have it backfire? You probably wanted understanding and just to talk about new possibilities, but suddenly you are in a full-blown argument, or worse, your partner has completely shut down. You just wanted to be heard. You want some things to change, but somehow the way you brought it up made things worse instead of better. Here is the truth. It is not that your complaint is wrong. We all have complaints and they all deserve to be heard. But if you are honest with yourself, I bet you can recognize there might have been something wrong or something about the way you brought it up that made the difference between creating connection or conflict. So this video is for you if you want to learn how to express your frustrations in a way that strengthens your relationship, that brings more intimacy instead of tearing it down. In this video, I'm going to share 4 powerful communication models that I have learned over the years that will help bring up complaints in a way that deepens relationship and creates more intimacy instead of tearing it down. We're going to cover why the way most people complain pushes their partner away, as well as the 4 biggest communication mistakes many of us make that make things worse, and a breakdown of the 4 models I've found to be the most effective in my work coaching couples, and also that I personally learned the hard way when I failed to use them in my own relationships. Nonviolent communication, Imago Dialogue, Brooke Castillo's model, and Byron Katie's The Work. I'm sharing them with you so you can start turning your potential conflicts into connection. This video is part 1 of a series where we'll explore these models in more depth. And the videos in these series will provide a deeper dive into these models, into these techniques with examples and practice exercises. So make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the deeper dives. Maybe you want to know why it is that complaints always seem to hurt relationships instead of making it better. I know that when you bring a complaint to your partner, your intention is good. Your intention is to be heard, to be seen, to make things better. But there are 4 common mistakes that many of us make when complaining. The first one is we move quickly, almost unconsciously, to blame and accusation. Even if we don't say, I blame you, if we're not careful about how we frame the complaint, it can be heard as, it can be received as blame and accusation. The second mistake that we often make is our complaints are vague or they are global or generalized. So we might make a specific complaint something that you always do. And that is sure to trigger the person who's hearing it and making it much harder for them to hear what it is you're actually saying. The third error that we make, so many of us make, is we don't want to be complainers and we don't have the tools for bringing our challenges and our desire for a change. So instead, we don't share it at all. We withhold it and we bottle it up until the point where we either explode and it creates more negativity, or maybe we even decide to end the relationship. The 4th challenge that most of us face when bringing complaints is we expect our partners to be able to read our minds. Anyone recognize this? He should know what I'm thinking. If he was in touch with me or in tune with me, he would know I'm upset. So be aware, be conscious of, because awareness and consciousness are the first steps towards change of these 4 common problems: blame and accusation, vague or generalized or global complaints, bottling it all up until we explode, or expecting our partners to mind read. The problem with these 4 instinctive or common patterns is that instead of resolving the conflict, these approaches often lead to defensiveness. Our partners feel attacked. They argue back. Often they'll shut down or they'll withdraw emotionally. And then what happens is we're repeating the cycles of conflict. The same complaints keep resurfacing over and over and over again when we fall into these 4 traps. So what's the solution? How can we bring up complaints constructively? Here are 4 models that I want to talk more about because I've learned about them over the past 40 years of my own personal growth work and my interpersonal relational studies and personalized learning. These 4 approaches can shift complaints from attacks to invitations for understanding and change. The first one is nonviolent communication, or NVC. This is a way that we can learn to speak and share our feelings and our needs and our desires and our requests without blame. The reason nonviolent communication works is because it shifts the focus immediately from blame to expressing our needs. The focus is on the circumstance that occurs, the observation, what actually happened, with no exaggeration, no assumption, no story, and then sharing the resulting feelings from that, how that experience or observation made you feel. And the third step is sharing needs. What is the need behind that feeling? If you can come from a place of sharing your very personal, very true need, instead of your reaction or your story, your partner's much more likely to hear it. And the fourth step in nonviolent communication is making a request, a clear, actionable request. So we're going to go more into nonviolent communication in the next video. So come back next week. A couple of the other models I want to share in preparation for the following weeks are Imago Dialogue. This is based on Harville Hendrix and Helen Hendricks' work. And the point of it is, the essential underlying point is to listen to our partners and to model listening in order that understanding occurs. It works because both partners get an opportunity to use this process to feel heard, deeply heard, before they respond, which means that hopefully, if you work on this skill set with your partner, you both can learn the skills of mirroring, repeating what your partner said so that you can confirm and they can confirm that they understood. Validation, such an important skill set that acknowledges the complaint has some validity, that even if your partner doesn't agree, once they've learned this technique, they could understand and see a way into validating what your complaint is. And then the third skill set in Imago Dialogue is empathy, expressing a care for their feelings, regardless of whether you agree or disagree. The next video will be talking about Brooke Castillo's model, which is a powerful model for applying in so many areas of life, but in the context of communication between partners with a complaint, it can help manage emotional reactions. And it works because it helps shift the mindset of either the person with the complaint or the person who's receiving the complaint or the circumstance before you've even brought up the issue. And it makes a distinction again, and I think you'll see a commonality here between the circumstance, the thing that happened, the thought that it created in your mind, and how that thought generated a feeling, which then created an action, often not a very useful action, that then has an impact and a result. So when you learn the model of taking a circumstance and separating it from the story or the reaction and getting clear on the thought it created, which results in the feeling that then generates an action and a result, then you can be more conscious about what you're thinking so that your communication around complaints or anything else in your relationship can be more impactful. And then the fourth model that we'll talk about is Byron Katie's The Work. And Byron Katie asks us to question our complaints, to question how we're bringing our complaints in the first place. And it helps us to challenge that there is a negative assumption. Often when we have a complaint, we have a negative assumption underneath it. So we're connecting a circumstance up to a belief, a negative belief about it. And she asks us to ask ourselves 4 questions before we even begin to complain. And that is it true? Is it really true that whatever the story we're bringing occurs, is it really true that they do the thing? Or are we making up that story or interpreting in that a way? And then she questions us. She asks us to go deeper by saying, can I absolutely know it's true? And then how do I react when I believe this thought? Bringing more consciousness and awareness to our own experience. And then who would I be, or what might my relationship be like without this thought and this belief? So these 4 tools are ways that we can strengthen our relationships in all ways, but specifically when we bring a complaint to our partners, it allows us to help convert those complaints into an opportunity to share how we really feel and how to make a request. It'll help our partners to not feel so attacked. It'll help us be in a communication so that both people feel heard and respected, and we'll stop repeating the same fights and the same complaints over and over and over again. And as a result, our relationships can grow in trust and emotional safety. So what's next are some deep dives. Please do subscribe to the channel because future videos are going to break down each of these tool sets using real life examples and practice exercises. Please let me know, which of these approaches do you already use and which ones do you want to learn more about? Tell me in the comments. And if you found this helpful, then please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video on mastering communications in relationships. Thank you so much for being here. If you'd like to watch another video, YouTube thinks you'll like this one, and here's a playlist you might find useful. See you next time.